Well, to discuss this tuition fee hike, we're being joined by Professor Rodney Shakespeare. He's a professor of binary economics, speaking to us from London. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, sir. Now, the General Secretary of the Lecturers Union, the UCU, has said, and I quote, the MPs need to think long and hard about whether or not they really think record fee levels benefit their constituents or our international reputation, end quote. Are the tuition fee hikes a step in the right direction or just a quick fix, in your opinion?
They're a quick fix, and it's not just 9,000. If you go with travel, rent, food, living expenses, the students will be on 20,000 a year, and over 3 years, it's 60,000. The students are sensing that there's a bigger issue than just their own student fees. It's really about a global financial elite making its move to control everybody by putting them into debt and into poverty for not just the students but for their children and their grandchildren. So what should the students do? Well, at the moment they're saying two things. They're saying abolish the monarchy, but that's only a small amount of money. And then they're saying get rid of Trident. But the problem there is you would have to get an almost universal disarmament right the way across the road. But there is one thing that the British students can do, and they can link up with the European students, and they can create very quickly a very powerful political movement. They should demand that either the National Bank, the Bank of England, or the European Central Bank give interest-free loans to students. They should demand, because they must take their campaign beyond themselves and beyond their own self-interest, they should demand that the National Bank, the Bank of England, and the European Central Bank issue interest-free loans for public capital projects. That would start to actually get the money out and get the jobs and get the real economy going. Now, there are other things they can do, but those things are very clear, very simple, and because it is known at the moment that the banks do create the money, it can be interest-free, and that should be done for student loans. Do that, and they will strike right at the heart of this corrupt and failing system, and they will make surprising progress, and they will have something with which they can link up with students, not just in Europe, but right the way around the world.
Right. Now, in his defense, the Prime Minister said, and I quote again, if we want to see university education expand, if we want to see universities well funded, we have to work out where that money is going to come from. Now, end quote. Now, with this radical push for his policies, are we seeing the demise of the welfare state in Britain, which was once its joy and pride?
Yes, of course. As things stand, the Prime Minister is a noodle who does not understand why the situation has happened, and he has no serious positive policy to get out of it. All he understands is the demise of the welfare state. But the students cannot defend something which in the situation they're going to be crushed by the police. They've actually got to come up with a positive solution. So it will not be enough just to protest against student fees, because the way the policy is operating at the moment, it will then hit other people. They've got to go to the heart of the matter, which is to hit at the weakness of the system, to hit at the thing which creates all the trouble, which is interest-bearing money, not just administration costs, interest-bearing money, and the way it works, more and more debt, and when things go wrong, more and more interest-bearing money. Let the students go for their own interest and demand interest-free loans. That will be the first crack on the paradigm which dominates the system at the moment. And the second crack will come when suddenly they realize that they can actually get people into work. They can actually protect jobs if the financing is done with interest-free money and not interest-bearing money.
Right now, Alan Johnson, the finance spokesman for Labour, has called the government's economic plans a huge gamble with no plan B. Now, what are we looking at if Cameron's experiments don't work?
Well, I have to say that Alan Johnson of the Labour Party is also someone with no plan B. To answer your question is that there's going to be increasing disorder, and at the same time there is going to be an increasingly violent repression. The United States, when the social disorder really starts there, they will move very quickly into fashion. In Europe, I fancy you're going to see much more of street violence. But the point is the students must get positive. Once they realize the weapon they have, which is the demand for interest-free loans for themselves and for the public capital projects, suddenly the political structure will be revealed as the emperor without clothes. Cameron will be revealed as someone who never understood why this has happened, and let no one think that he now has the answer. I say to the students, go positive. Go for interest-free loans from the National Bank and from the European Central Bank.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. That was Professor Rodney Shakespeare, Professor of Binary Economics, speaking to us from London. Many thanks indeed, sir, for your insight here on Press TV.